Welcome to the Deuce podcast. I'm Brad.
And I'm Jeremy.
And Jeremy, we are doing episode 74 of the Deuce podcast. I keep track so you don't have to.
I honestly, every time you say a number, I'm just like, what? Seriously?
Oh, I could have said, we're doing episode 724. You would have been like, yep, that's probably right.
I think I would have known if that was the case.
Okay. We are finishing up our Western series.
Yes.
We did Young Guns 2 earlier, and what was the other one we did? Rooster Cogburn. With our friend Chris. And we are finishing off with Return to Seven, the sequel to the Magnificent Seven.
Yes.
This is one of 4 movies that are, well, right?
Yeah, one of the 4
3.
Magnificent Seven movies.
Right. This is the only one that doesn't have Magnificent in it. And rightfully so.
for good reason. And so I never seen this one. Like I like Magnificent Seven. So, and actually interesting, couple of years ago now, we did
our 24-hour marathon of movies.
We did a countdown of movies from 12 to 1, like with that they had the number in the title. We started with Midnight Madness at midnight.
Yeah.
And watched movies for 24 hours. And Magnificent Seven was number 7.
Yeah, Ocean's 11.
Yeah.
8 Men Out.
Yeah. Like that. So
Magnificent Seven was our 7.
Yes, it was. And it was I've seen it many times.
It was really early in the morning when we watched it.
Yeah, it was. It was like maybe like 10 in the morning ish, 9 or 10 in the morning.
Yeah, sure.
Watching Yul Brynner and Steve McQueen.
And that's the only time to really watch them.
That is true.
I would say it would be at 10:30 on TBS.
Yes.
The Superstation.
Yep. I've never seen this. I've seen Magnificent Seven many times over.
Yeah, so we've seen the first one.
Yeah, so this I have never seen, and I was kind of excited when I was looking through sequels. I was like, "Oh, cool! This is going to be good." I was all on board for this one.
You were excited for it. I was excited for it.
Yeah, it was. So, and then I started to read right before we were watching it. I started to read a little bit about how it came to be, and that's when I was like, "Oh,
no!"
Yeah, because basically, when the Magnificent Seven first came out, it didn't have kind of the following or people knowing about it like they do now. It was kind of a flop in the U.S., but Magnificent Seven was huge in Europe.
Oh.
And so it was like a Spanish movie company helped co-produce this movie with the U.S. Film Board or whatever it was. And they basically they wanted to do this and put it back together. So literally, I think the only actor who returns is Yul Brynner.
Yul Brynner, right? I
Yeah.
don't think there's anyone else.
No, and this movie is, by all means, it is just pretty much the definition of a cash grab, I think.
So you would say, Jeremy, that possibly there was phonies working on this.
I think there may have been some phonies, which is always a problem,
It is a problem. Do you know where you can find no phonies at?
Where?
No, I was wondering. If you know.
Well, I thought maybe,
The No Phony Podcast Network.
Yeah, I think that's probably.
That seems right.
Yeah, it checks, it tracks,
And we are part of that network.
We are.
That is a network full of a bunch of wonderful podcasts.
Yep. Very diverse group of podcasts.
Very DeGroose. I don't know why I said DeGroose.
DeGroose.
DeGroosey Junior High.
Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Neil deGrasse Tyson.
It has a very Neil deGrasse Tyson.
It does. You gotta cruise those wheels. So, we will deal with my pronunciation another day. But check that podcast network out.
Yes.
Check our show out. Wait, you are, because you're listening to it.
It's correct.
But check those podcasts on that podcast network out, right?
Yep, there's something for everybody. So
there is something for everyone.
Definitely check it out.
A cornucopia of...
Yep, at nophonynetworks.com.
Yeah. So after these messages, we'll be right back.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
The Via VHS podcast is changing lives. Here's some testimonials. Bill from Tallahassee, Florida says, I was able to quit my job and get a Ferrari, just like Magnum PI. Sue from San Diego, California says, wow, it really helped with my crippling depression. Thanks, Via VHS. And Tom from Charlotte, North Carolina says, it cured my genital warts. Wow. Listen to the Via VHS podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, and Google Play.
And we are back, Jeremy.
We are
back. Back. Streets back. All right. Right?
Well, I suppose.
Well, I thought it would
that
sing
was
a little bit more.
That was the end song of
of this movie.
Of the
Return of Seven.
Return of the Seven.
Return
Yeah.
of the Seven. I thought I'd sing a little bit more in our podcast.
Oh, you should. I
Yeah.
like when you sing.
No. This movie is streaming. If you are Amazon Prime member, you can watch it on that. Currently, it is about a 5 on IMDb.
Yeah, something like that.
Rotten Tomatoes of 33%. I just made that one up.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It-
That's why I give it. No, I'm just joking.
It has 3 out of 7 Cowboys.
It does. 3 out of 7 Cowboys. Yes. So, why don't we drop the deuce on this?
Yeah, let's
shall
do
we?
it.
Okay. Let's drop the deuce on this.
Let's do it. So, now, for those who may or may not have seen it, so the Magnificent Seven. So the first movie ended with our 7 original heroes fighting off all these bandits. 4 of the 7 die in the first movie. So this movie picks up like 10 years later, or close to that. Everything is moved on.
10 years later?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Is that why Yul Brynner looks like that?
No.
Okay.
So we start in this little Mexican village, and you see farmers just kind of. I mean, it goes on for a while.
We
giving
do
us
focus on this village a while. It's more like they're getting, yeah.
It's just showing like what the life is like there.
Sure.
And I'm really glad that it's not just like a bunch of actors trying to like fake their way through accents. So the first movie was
That's
very
true.
The first movie was like Chico in the first movie
Yes.
was played by a German
Freddie
dude.
Prinze. Oh, yeah, you're right.
No, he's played by a German dude.
Sorry, I thought you meant Chico and the Man.
No.
Okay.
And the bad guy, Calvera or whatever his name was played by Eli Wallach. He was like he's a Jewish comedian or Jewish actor who had brown face going.
Wonderful.
Yeah. And so this movie, when they redid it, with the Spanish like film board like being part of that, they actually hired a lot of Latino actors and
They
actresses.
did. You can see it a little bit. And some of the actors, not so much.
Yeah, like some, it's iffy.
There's a
but
woman actor towards the middle of the movie that I didn't think was. I thought she was white.
Ooh, Petra?
Yeah.
Oh, Elisa Montes.
Oh,
She's-
maybe not.
She might
Maybe
be
I'm thinking
Spanish,
someone
but
else. Maybe
she's.
so, okay. I thought there was one that I was just like, ooh. And when I said, who says there's no good roles for women?
Oh,
nowadays?
yeah. I
I was
gotcha.
like, she's white.
Yes. So. No, that woman was not also.
Oh, really?
Nope.
Well, then I'm just being racist.
She might have been Spanish though.
She might have been.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what it was. Because this film is set in Mexico,
Yes, it is.
but shot in Spain.
Actually, I think it might have been shot in Mexico.
Really?
But it had
Shot
had
in
Spanish
Spain.
actors in it too.
Oh,
though.
okay. Maybe. Well, we're getting all confused.
Yeah. So, this village. I was gonna say they even went as far as to hire like a Spanish script supervisor this time. So it wasn't just people like speaking English to each other with thick accents. It was there's a good portion of the beginning of the movie that is like not in English at all, and which I thought was great.
Yeah.
But you kind of get the sense of this village, and they're doing very like traditional things, like with the food and with like what
They
they're
are
doing in the village. And
in the village and
it was like, okay, it was very slow, but it was kind of an interesting view. And then while they're working, you see some guy like at the top of the ridge, and like all the farmers stop and are just looking at him. He stumbles a little ways and then just keels over, like he rolls down part of the hill. They go and get him, and he whispers some words to them and then dies. And then while that's happening, all of a sudden all these bandits ride in and start going after everybody. Yeah. And so the bandits, basically, he escaped from them and just died shortly after.
Mm-hmm.
So all of a sudden they're just riding everybody down, and they're like grabbing everybody they can, all these guys, and shooting everybody else. And the main farmer guy, he stands there and watches for a minute, kind of stunned, and then he just takes off running across the field towards the houses. And the woman who's working yells out to him and says, "Chico, no!" Well, so we find out that's Chico, the once like wild, hotshot, gunslinging like wannabe kid
From the first movie. He now has settled down. He's settled down So
with.
Chico now works for the man.
That's correct. Yes, he now is the man. But he married Petra from the first movie, who was the girl he was sweet on. The actors have changed. So now
Yes, they have.
So now it's Julia Mateos and Elisa Montez.
They were they were getting too many lines.
Yes, that's
The
correct.
original actors. Yul Brynner wasn't having anything to do with it.
No, Yul Brynner is the center
Now,
of
should
everything.
we talk about how Yul Brynner and Steve McQueen?
Let's talk about it here in a second.
Well, maybe I want to talk about it now.
Well, we'll get to the perfect timing of it.
Okay.
So Chico runs into the house. He opens up at the foot of the bed. There's this kind of like chest. He opens it up, and it's got his gun belt. So it's got bullets and his gun, his 6-shooter on there. Petra just begs him not to go. And so he says, "Nope, I have to." So he grabs the gun and he runs outside, and he takes out like 3 guys like right away. And then he finally gets like shot in the shoulder or something like that, but he's down. The guys come up, they pick him up, and they take him away. So they drag him off. I thought he was dead at first, but later they say he's not. But basically, they kind of talk a little bit and try to figure out what to do. Petra's like, "I have to go talk to somebody." Now we go to a scene with, we see Yul Brynner as Chris Adams.
No, Chris E. Adams.
I cannot handle my gunfighter being named.
I don't think your hero should be called Chris E. Adams.
Chris. Like, he just doesn't have a very cowboyish name.
What would his cowboy name be then?
What would his cowboy name? You could pick a tougher sounding name than Chris Adams. Duke.
What else?
Let's see.
McClintock. Now I'm just naming John Wayne movies.
Basically. Marion. Why do you think John Wayne changed his name from Marion?
Because he didn't want to be a librarian anymore.
So Chris, I'm just gonna call him the Man in Black.
He really is the gunslinger or the Man in Black. I mean, he's wearing the same outfit. I feel like it's the same outfit that he wore in Westworld.
Which that's why I'm like, is Westworld like a distant sequel of?
Perhaps, maybe.
They based it off a historical character.
They took the historical facts of the Magnificent Seven and used him as a gunslinger because he was so badass.
Yeah.
Maybe not his name, and then they changed his name to Gunslinger.
Yeah.
Or the Man in Black. I mean,
well, because he's just a folk hero, and so they.
Yeah.
Anyway, so basically he is watching a bullfight, and while he's doing that, you see some kid who's kind of sneaking along the ground. He's like, he's got a red cape, and he's trying to like find a good place to jump in, I guess, or I'm not sure what he's doing at first, but he's crawling along the ground. While he's doing that, he notices, of course, Yul Brynner's gun, but decides to keep moving on. And then a guy, some white guy, walks up behind him and is like, "Hey, I just so you know, there's a bounty on your head." And so he starts talking to him, and then I realize he's supposed to be Vin from the first movie.
Gotcha.
Who used to be Steve McQueen.
Vin.
Yes. Yes, he's Vin. So tell me, why don't you tell everybody about...
now you want me to.
Yes, because it's a perfect time.
Now you want me to.
Yeah.
Now.
Yes, now.
Okay. Steve McQueen and Yul Brynner did not get along in the first movie, The Magnificent Seven. Yul Brynner pretty much, I want to assume that Yul Brynner is kind of a professional, likes to keep things pretty well set up on stage. And at this point in his career, Yul Brynner was, a star. I mean, he was the one setting up everything. And as far as he was concerned, in The Magnificent Seven, it was his movie. Even though it's called The Magnificent Seven and not The Magnificent Chris. Right?
Oh, The Magnificent Chris.
Yeah, I saw that gay review show. The Magnificent Chris.
Mm-hmm.
It was to the point where not only did Steve McQueen, like, he felt like he was purposely trying to upstage him on screen.
Yeah, well, because he was.
Yeah, he was. He hired an assistant to count how many lines Steve McQueen had, as opposed to him. He then would also build up these dirt piles so you could stand on him.
They were the same height.
To be the same height.
Well, they were the same height.
Yeah.
And
so to be bigger than Steve McQueen.
he would pile up dirt on the ground before a scene to stand on.
Yeah.
So that he was a couple inches taller than Steve McQueen.
So rumor has it that Steve McQueen caught wind of that and then kicked one of the piles away.
Yeah.
And that drove him nuts.
Well, that
kind of pushed him over the edge.
Well, he was also mad because Steve McQueen was only originally in the script only had 7 lines.
Yeah.
So in order to and he was trying to like ad lib or talk more, they were getting things added. But like so when Yul Brynner would be talking, Steve McQueen, to combat that, was doing things like flipping a coin in the scene.
Yeah.
Or messing with stuff.
With his hat.
Yeah, or stuff pulling
whatever.
focus, and Yul Brynner did not like that. It was like a battle of egos, essentially.
Pretty much. So Yul Brynner said he would do this movie if Steve McQueen wasn't involved with it.
Yeah. And Steve McQueen originally
said,
was interested.
I wasn't going to do this movie because he didn't like the plot.
Yeah.
He thought the plot was cheesy.
He was interested until he read it.
So it was the best of both worlds for both of them. So actually, and this is a true fact, this was originally supposed to be called Return of the King and I and I and I and I and I and I. Yeah.
Oh, why?
Did you know that?
I did not. No.
Yeah. Totally true fact.
Yep, it sounded like it.
Sounds legit.
Sounds totally legit.
Like that's something you would put on a marquee.
Just the King and I, and they think it's the King and I Part 6. The King and I Part 5. So Vin tells Chris that he tells him that he's got a bounty on his head, and to show you how far how bad things have gotten for Chris, Vin tells him, "Well, it's $500." He goes, $500? And he goes, pesos. And he's like, "But it's enough for some. I wanted to come tell you."
I thought you were gonna say, it's $500. $500? No, 525,600 minutes.
Why would I say that?
Because you told me I should sing more.
You should, and so I'm really glad you did.
Thank you.
Vin still says, "Hey, look, I know it's not a lot of money, but you know, I wanted to let you know because there could be some young hotshot might just want to get his hands on the money."
Yeah.
And so they're talking about it, and while their bullfight's going on, some kid runs out, the same kid from earlier, and he has this red cape. He's trying to fight the bull, and people are booing. They're trying to drag him off, and Yul Brynner's like, no, let him fight.
So he says, let him fight. And so he goes out there and fight. You said I could sing more.
You could sing more.
Don't look at me like, what are you doing?
And I was like, what song is that?
It's not. I'm just singing my comments now.
Perfect. So he lets him fight, and the kid ends up just killing the bull right away.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody cheers. He's lauded as his hero. The end.
Blame it on the bull and the heather. Sonic Youth? No?
That was, yeah. So now Chris and Vin. By the way, Vin Tanner's now played by Robert Fuller.
Oh, Robert Fuller.
Yep. Fuller House. I don't know what else Robert Fuller was in. Anyway, he was
the sequel to Bullet.
So they're sitting and they're having a drink, like watching this flamenco thing, which then I was interested in. It was just a long. It's one of those scenes where like the dance is going on too long and they're just sitting there not talking really. But there's a flamenco dance going on, and that one's interesting. But then a little kid comes up and hands him Chico's gun belt. Chris realizes something's wrong, so he runs over and he talks to Chico, or talks to Petra, who says that Chico has been kidnapped. And not only have the guys of that village been kidnapped, they went to a couple other villages and kidnapped those guys as well.
Yeah.
And so she begs him to save the village, and he's like, no, I don't do that. And so then the little kid basically asks him if he's riding out tonight or in the morning. And they couldn't deny the little kid that they're going to go, which I assume is why Petra brought him. And so they say, yeah, we'll go. So, but now, since it's just the two of them, and Chico, technically, I mean, they need to get more people, because they lost 4 of their Magnificent 7 last time. So now it's the recruitment phase. So
it's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Kind of putting together a team.
Yeah. This one, I don't know. I think like this putting together a team seems so much more lackluster than the last one.
Yeah, kind of did.
So Chris goes to the jail, and it's kind of like asking what people have done. He finds a gunman,
right,
named Frank, played by Claude Atkins, whichever.
Okay.
Who was the preacher in Inherit the Wind.
Inherit the Wind.
Yeah. And he was in lots of stuff. He's pretty iconic.
Actor. Yeah.
Yeah. I was really excited to see him, by the way.
I
Luis.
was too, but then I was like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not his finest role, obviously.
No.
Luis Emilio Delgado, played by Virgilio
Tina
Teixeira.
Delgado's.
Yes.
Tina Delgado's alive.
Alive. So Virgilio Teixeira was the actor who played Luis, and he was like I think he was a Spanish actor.
Yeah, I think so.
But he was like a heartthrob, basically. Like, he played all these big romantic roles.
Oh.
And he was very popular.
Oh.
And so that's why they had him in there.
So I want to be popular.
Yes. That's why if you can't hit those, if you can't hit Kristen Chenoweth notes, don't even get started. So then
I'm Kristen Chenoweth.
Anyway,
pushing daisy.
so, and of course, Luis, which I was so confused. So Chris buys both Frank and Louise out of jail.
Yeah.
Frank and Louise. But Luis is like, can I escape in the morning because I'm banging this chick in the jail? And there's just a gal sitting there with like a blanket covering her body, or part of their body at least. I was like, what? Why is there some chick here in the jail with you? But he's like, yeah, just come back for me in the morning.
I didn't understand that.
He's just supposed to be this like Lothario kind of.
He's just supposed to be this horn dog.
Yeah, basically, he's like a suave kind of guy.
He was not suave. Please, those teeth. There ain't nothing suave.
No,
about
that's
that.
not him.
That's not him.
No,
Oh,
the guy
okay.
who looked like Walter Scoggins or whatever.
Oh,
Walter Goggins.
Yes, I thought that's what we were talking about.
No.
Okay.
No, we're talking about Luis.
Look, again, these guys are like these cowboys are like newsies to me.
Yeah.
They all look the same.
So literally this recruitment phase is he gets two guys out of jail. He goes and finds two people in the same place.
Later on, he finds what's his face,
and then
okay,
he's walking. He's like walking by, and as he's walking by,
yes, that's where he does.
Colby, this other
Colby.
guy
Yeah,
falls out a
Colby.
window named Colby.
I think last name's Smolders.
Yes, Colby Cheese, played by Warren Oates. He goes like tumbling
Warren
out of a
Oates.
window.
Warren Oates, not Hollow Notes, but
No,
Warren Oates.
Warren Oates. He was
I
in.
can't go for that. No,
I
don't
can't go for that. He was in Stripes.
He was in Stripes.
Mm-hmm.
The movie Stripes.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I thought you meant like his costume.
No, well, I don't remember, but
Yeah.
he was in the movie Stripes for sure.
So this is the guy that I was like, oh my god, how old is Walton Goggins?
Because
Because he kind of looked like he kind of looked like
his
him. The guy
teeth
from
look
the
like
Shield.
they don't fit his head.
The guy from the Shield.
Yeah.
Right, and Vice Principals.
Yeah. In
Because that guy's kind
Justified.
of got weird teeth, and this guy's got weird teeth.
Yeah, they don't look like they quite fit his head right.
They look like he was the inspiration for Mr. T from the Letter People. Tall teeth.
Tall teeth.
Speaking of Mr. T and inspiration, that the Magnificent Seven was the inspiration for the television show, The A-Team.
Was it really?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
I can see that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can actually. Yeah, I can see that. They go and help people,
Mhm.
and yeah. Nope, I can definitely see that. So now they got. So Colby, basically, he was sleeping with some wife. The husband comes home
Right.
and starts taking shots at him, and he rolls out of the
I
roof.
think he got hepatitis B
In real life.
in real life.
In real life, doing this movie.
It wasn't from that woman?
It could have been from
Okay.
that woman. Could have been from anybody.
So he got dysentery too, didn't he?
Yeah, he got dysentery. He drank something he shouldn't have.
From this movie.
From this movie.
Yeah.
From touching the script. And then not washing his hands. But he falls out of a window, and literally, like, they're just like, well, you seem to be able to run from bullets, so
I felt like he knew him.
he did. But he just happened to be like, oh, my friend just fell out of a, let's go, and they run. And so then, so Chris and Vin go to a cockfight.
This was my favorite when I heard that they were going to a cockfight,
Yeah.
and then I realized it wasn't the kind of cockfight I thought.
By the way, Vin was disappointed for the exact same reason. So they go, and I'm like, honestly, this is the first time I've seen like an actual cockfight, like with the bird cockfights.
Yeah,
I was like, oh no, like I've only seen them
I
like.
don't think PETA was around during this time.
No.
They did not treat animals
Well,
correctly.
PETA wouldn't have. PETA would have killed them anyway. But I was just like, oh no, what's going on? Like, it was pretty violent. I was just like, get them out of there. But so they're fighting, and some young guy. I swore it was a guy from the bullfight.
It is.
Yeah, he runs
guy.
up. He runs up, and he grabs the rooster and gets it out of there. And he's like, it's had enough. And so some cowboy starts fighting him and just beating the ever-loving shit out of him. And Yul Brynner's just watching him get his ass handed to him forever. And he finally gets up there, and
Is it like when Yul Brynner walks in this town, like it just part seas
yeah,
of towns?
and everybody stops.
Everyone
and goes,
just stops. The man in black is moving.
Yeah, and he goes, he's had enough, and just punches the guy, and so then he recruits the kid, Manuel. Manuel didn't, who I think later they named him because he doesn't have a last name because he was an orphan. So later he changes his name to Manuel de Norte because he wants to like go north, or he came from the north or something. I don't know. He's played by Jordan Christopher. So
who's also from the north, Colby Smulders.
He was.
And that has nothing to do with the movie.
Yeah.
But just talk about the Colby Smulders.
Yeah.
She's from Canada.
So the guys ride out. They go and they find that the villagers are basically being used as slave labor. So they're being made to. They have to rebuild the village from the first movie that ended up getting destroyed.
Can you go back for a moment? So they go out the next morning. They go out.
Yeah.
Right? And obviously there's just 6 of them.
Yes.
Because Chico's in the town.
Yeah. They say, well, do we need
So
another? And he's like, Chico's still
it's
part
kind
of
of
this.
6.5.
Yeah.
Shall we say?
Yeah. Chris still wants to count Chico among their numbers, which to
Don't
me
count
seems.
Chico until you have.
Well,
Chico.
that's why I say, don't count your Chicos before they're hatched. Yes. Anyway, but he wants to count Chico, but I think it's dumb because Chico's kidnapped. He's not going to help you. He doesn't count towards your numbers against fighting bad guys.
Yeah, I don't know. I thought that was kind of weird. I mean, you're right. It's not the Magnificent Seven right now.
Yeah, there's just 6.
It's more like the OK 6.
Yes. And to top it off, Manuel doesn't have a gun.
That's true. Manuel doesn't have a gun.
They don't give him a gun. They don't give him a gun until later.
Okay.
Because he's a kid. So.
Yeah.
So they discover that missing villagers are being used as slaves to rebuild this village.
He saved a chicken. He killed a bull. Give him a gun, for heaven's sakes.
Well, you know what though? I'm kind of like it's interesting. He doesn't usually fight with guns. He just pretty much anything else.
It's more survival.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so they it's back in the original village from the first one. So turns out that there's this rancher named Lorca. So
and that's a good villain name. Do you know what's a terrible hero name?
Chris.
Chris.
So Emilio Fernandez is the actor. He plays Francisco Lorca. And Lorca is this kind of rich baron type guy. Turns out 3 of his sons were in the group who, like the Banditos, who raided the village in the first movie. And they all died and were buried there in this village. And so he wants to rebuild it just as like a memorial to them, or just like, basically as a thing for them to be remembered. So he's using all the guys to do that.
So we're this plot is kind of a little loose.
Yeah, it just seems like it was kind of weird. Like the motivation
forced.
seemed off.
It seems forced.
Well, he tells them later, okay, so he tells Chris later that the reason that he's doing it, he's like, these farmers, or the reason he's having the farmers do it, is because all those farmers that were in that village, they could have learned to defend themselves, but instead they had to bring in the 7, which meant that these guys, and so he's punishing the farmers for being gutless. Now,
we are farmers.
Very good.
You told me I could sing more.
I did. But it seems weird to me because I would think it'd be the other way around. Like, he would be punishing the farmers for making his kids fight on their behalf, but I don't think they did. His kids were bad guys. I don't know. It's very confusing. Other than that, I think Lorca's like an okay bad guy. He's kind of a hefty like obviously eats well, kind of angry about whatever, and he doesn't seem like he was a bandito until like he got this in his head, because later like one of his
because he knows Chris, right?
Yeah, and Chris even says like you saved my life.
Yeah,
and so they know each other, and he just seems like he went bad. So the six show up and have this. They start launching an attack on Lorca and his men. There is one really brutal. This one really brutal like attack they do. They're sneaking in, and there's like a guy on a chair, and they like grab him. Like it seems like they just take him from off of this like wherever he's sitting and just throw him into the ground face first, and then bash his head with the rifle butt. And I was like, oh man, like it just the way they filmed it and the smoothness and like everything, it looked pretty brutal. Regardless, but so the six show up, and they get ready to attack, and to basically to try to free everybody. They end up this is again, Lorca has like 50 guys there, or has like 60 guys there, but Yul Brynner just stands up, and they're like, okay, we're gonna go.
Yeah, I don't get that. You have 6 guys, plus you just threw one gun to Chico.
Yeah.
And then you're like, so you're going to leave, right? Yeah, okay, goodbye.
Yeah, we'll be back.
Well,
why?
End.
Yeah, I'm like, why? You have the
end,
advantage. Right?
So now you're in, like, it doesn't make sense. Now
Yeah.
you're in the town, so they know where you're at. So you can't surprise.
Yeah, and so now
them.
you gave them a stronghold.
You gave them your location.
Yeah. And so,
I don't know. That was
yeah, it was so weird. And so, so they leave, and they're like, okay, well, and that's when Lorca's like, these farmers and ranchers aren't going to do anything. They're gutless, and so good luck. And so he leaves. And so they're like, okay, well, let's prepare for this counterattack. Like, they're going to come back. Of course, the farmers offer no assistance. They basically are just praying. They're praying with the priest in the town. So the priest is...
the priest.
The priest has been begging Lorca.
Oh, yeah.
So there's a priest in the town. He's begging Lorca to not do this. Don't go down this road. Don't do these things. He seems like he's an okay guy.
That's the guy from French Connection 2.
Emilio Fernandez.
Yeah.
Who played the bad guy in French Connection 2.
Who played the French Connection.
Yeah. So he's a Deuce alumni.
Right. Well, so is Yul Brynner, if you think about it.
Yes, that is true. As he is, yes.
Yes.
So
was the guy that played Vin.
Was he?
No. No.
He was an au pair.
He was
too.
a nothing after that.
So the Lorca comes back. They repel him. Lorca comes back a second time. They rout him again. Like, they just keep driving him back. And so each time he loses some of his guys. So he tells his second in command, whose name is Lopez. He tells Lopez.
Mario?
Yes.
So he tells Mario Lopez.
Yes. The
guys, I'm at the Grove.
He says, go back to the ranch and go rally anybody who works for me. If they're children, if they're whoever, put a gun in their hand and bring them back here.
Yeah.
We're going to do this up huge. And he goes, wait a minute. He goes, are you sure? Like, he goes, you're a rancher. If they leave, your cows can get rustled, or they can just walk away. Your fields are going to die because nobody's there to tend him. And he is so hell-bent on revenge that he's willing to lose everything on this. Which I was like, kind of like, okay, he seems like a good, crazy kind of like angry villain.
Kind of, but it's still super lame.
Yeah, it is. The motivation behind it is kind of dumb. But, like, I love his intensity about it. His intensity was okay. Anyway, So the guy rides off to go get backup. So in the meantime, you know that more people are coming. They try to plan for this the whole time. That like the farmers are like praying, and so which that I don't know why they're just constantly praying and not doing anything else.
Right. Is this where we get our scenes where everyone has a moment with Yul Brynner?
Yes. So it's like probably before the day before they're gonna attack, and Yul Brynner has all these moments with everybody. Where they're just talking to him, and he's talked to Vin a lot.
Up to this point, we like these peripheral characters besides Vin, who has had a couple scenes with him, but not really anything spectacular, have not really been fleshed out very well.
There's earlier
like
there was
2/3 of the way movie, we don't really quite know what these characters are or what motivation they have to even come along with him. They're just there.
There was a scene with like Chico and Frank, or not Chico, Luis and Frank earlier.
Yeah.
Where Luis is talking about like how much he loves the ladies or something like that.
Yeah, but even that was more his goofy character and not really his main motive.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And so they're talking. So they basically little stuff is happening, but mostly we keep getting them coming up to Chris and talking. So as an example, Frank, the gunslinger guy, he lived on the plains with his wife. One day they were surrounded and attacked by some Apaches, by Apache warriors, and they were just, causing havoc on his ranch, on his farm. So he's firing at them, and he has one bullet left. His wife begs him, "Don't let them take me. You hear about what they do to women, that they take. Don't let them do that to me." And so when it looks the bleakest, he ends up killing her. The Apaches come in, see what he's done, and just leave.
So this is a 5-minute speech, a little monologue that he has.
And Claude Akins is a good actor. It's a good,
So you're, watching it, and you're like, okay, he's probably going to deliver it better than, maybe someone who's not as skilled actor, even though it's kind of, I don't know, not very written very well, but at least he's delivering it.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
Yeah,
so
and
it's
he has this good moment where he never says that he shoots her. He said she's begging me to do this. He goes, and he kind of shudders when he says it. I was like, oh, okay.
In an otherwise bad movie that doesn't make sense why they would put that moment in there.
Yeah.
Not really. It's just his suicide mission.
Yeah. Oh, and they have a thing later. He talks about ever since he gets himself into these horrible situations because he's hoping somebody will kill him and then send him to his wife. And so later he walks off and he overhears some of the people talking and that moves the plot kind of. And
if you're having a 5-minute monologue and that's your monologue, I wonder what your foreshadowing is as a character.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So it's I'm not invested in that because I know what's going to happen.
Yeah. So Colby talks to him. And Colby's thing is well, I used to not be a ladies' man, and then you got me confidence, and now I'm a ladies' man. Now I'm not afraid of anything. And that was basically what it was.
Hashtag me too.
Yeah. Hashtag Chris is your slump buster. So he so that's his thing. But Colby's yeah, I'll fight with you. And I don't even remember him talking to to Luis. I don't think he talks to Luis in the whole movie.
No, I don't think so either.
And Manuel never says shit. So
no. Except at the beginning, can I go with you?
Yeah. And so Vin,
or don't touch my cock, my chicken.
Correct. Don't touch my cock.
He says to
small
Vin.
And helpless.
He says to Vin.
Yes. And Vin was well, how about your rooster then? Vin has some weird melodramatic stuff here and there, but he's always Chris's second hand. So,
but again, this feels very much formulaic. It feels like it's hand-fisted. It just feels like it just doesn't quite work because we've seen it so many times.
Not
Like,
even
there's
that.
nothing
It's
new.
just like people are walking up and talking to him, and like
Yeah.
most of it's just Yul Brynner sitting there, like
Yes,
staring
just
into
Right, there's
eternity while they're
there's no
talking to him.
reaction to like Yul Brynner as an actor is not reacting to what they're
No.
saying.
No, it's not.
So it's like I'm not invested because you're not invested.
Yeah, I get like when you have characters who are supposed to be badass and stuff like that, your people are still reacting. Like I hate when people equate being badass with like not reacting at all or showing emotion
Agreed.
or dialogue. I'm like, that doesn't make you tough. That just Anyway, so there's like these things happen one after the other. I'm not going through every single
No, don't.
thing.
It's pointless.
And I think it's like Chico talks about settling down and how he doesn't want to fight anymore and like blah blah blah. Anyway,
Whatever.
so they start writing in, and Lorca's men do, like the original group starts writing in. They're holding them off. They're in these great strategic positions, so they're holding them off. Six of the seven are like, hey, let's go and ride around them and flank them, and we'll get them from behind. It was Vin's plan. We'll get them from behind, and we'll take them out that way. So they saddle the horses. They go. They make Manuel stay at the church, and so he's staying behind with everybody else. So they ride. Now, they're holding these guys off as they're riding in, and then the seven ride in, and I'm thinking they're going to ride up, like, behind them or from the side or something like that. But literally, they almost ride just straight at them. Like, I don't get what they're doing. It's like they weren't head-to-head.
Yeah.
Instead of riding in at their 12 o'clock,
Yeah.
they came in at their 1. Like, it was really awkward.
It was really awkward.
I was like, they can still get you from over there, guys. And so they...
Yeah, it was kind of odd.
Yeah, it was the worst tactical move. And so one of their horses gets shot. I think Colby's horse gets shot, and like he scurries away. They all manage to get out of there right as Lorca's other men line up on the ridge and start riding in on them too. So like they're getting double flanked. Basically, 6 of the 7 all fall back behind a fountain and are kind of making their stand there. It doesn't look good for them. Now, meanwhile, while this is happening, Manuel found a huge box of dynamite. So all the farmers are they have torches and they have dynamite. 'Cause
Yeah.
They don't have guns, so they're throwing these sticks of dynamite and just, knocking tons of Lorca's guys down, just taking them out left and right. And so they're all falling down, whatever. Some people are farmers and whatever are getting shot, but everybody's getting taken out. They're holding their own. They are having this heroic moment. Now, while all of this is happening, and the guys are still trapped behind the fountain, you see Luis gets shot.
Mm-hmm.
So he gets shot in the... I think Colby gets shot in the shoulder.
Yeah, Colby gets shot in the shoulder.
Yeah, but he's okay. He just gets
Yeah.
shot in the shoulder. Luis gets killed. He gets shot in the chest a couple times.
Vin just fell off his horse, so nothing really happened with him. I'm just trying to think. Yeah, Colby got shot.
Yeah, but he's fine. He
Yeah.
is back there firing still.
Yeah.
Luis gets shot and killed by the fountain.
Surprise. Shocker.
Yeah, and so everybody else is fighting. Lorca comes up, and he's got a bead on Chris, and so he goes to shoot him. But when he does, the Frank jumps in front of him and gets shot. But Frank also fires and kills Lorca. And it's a huge, like, gut shot thing. So, like... And Lorca just slumps down to his knees, and that's just kind of where he
falls, and then
he's just on his knees, like basically dying, just stuck there. And of course, all Lorca's guys are like, "Oh shit! They shot Lorca! Retreat!" And so all like
it's
70
like,
people leave.
It's like, oh, the Wicked Witch died.
Yeah,
She melted. Let's just go. Let's just leave.
Yeah, so they all just run away.
They just run away. You win.
Yeah.
Oh, that's all I
It
had
makes
to
no
do?
sense. I was like, why? Why wouldn't you press on?
But also, it's like, okay, what I don't understand is like they killed your leader. Why wouldn't you want revenge from that?
Yeah, he's your leader.
So why wouldn't someone else rise up and be then the leader?
I don't know.
And then
It made no
you know what I
sense.
mean? So it
I was
can't
really
be
surprised
over
they
with.
just rode off.
He just rode off.
Well, and it's not like, so I thought maybe like Lopez would be like, guys, that's enough. This is done. Or the priest or somebody to step in. It's just some like random guy is like, he's dead. Run.
Retreat.
Yeah.
Done.
And so they leave. And so Frank's like, I did it. And he dies. Vin calls Chris over and points out that in the gunfire, Manuel gets killed too. So he's like laying on the steps of the church. But he's got a smile on his face because he got to be a hero. But he's dead. And so you see Yul Brynner looks a little upset. Vin is like melodramatically like like looking at Chris like
Right.
oh, like he's gonna cry. I mean, it's like he's very over the top with this thing. So in the end,
But at least he's not as tall as Yul Brynner.
well, that's true. That's very true.
That's the main thing. That's why they cast him. They're like, here's a scene for you to audition for. They're like, okay, that was good, but how tall are you?
Moses, how tall are you, Moses?
Go ahead.
So, in the end, they determine, or Chico has an idea. Chico basically says, this village still has fertile land. It's already started to be rebuilt. What if we took all 4 villages that had people stolen from them? Let's bring them all together, consolidate them, and make like one giant village.
Oh, like a house, like a all block garage sale.
Exactly. Exactly. Strengthen
Numbers.
in little numbered stickers stuck
Sure.
to things. I think it's how that phrase goes.
So they do, and Vin and Chris, and they ride off.
Yes.
Doesn't he say something too? Like Vin says something, and like Yul Brynner just looks at him like, "How dare you?"
He's like, "Do you want to do another one of these?" And he just looks at him angrily.
So you would say you've been deuced, right?
I would say that's the deuciest.
That would be the
yeah.
deuciest deuce.
The deuce is loose.
So that's what we thought of it. Shall we get into what other people thought of it, Jeremy?
Ooh, if we gotta.
Okay. Grid Dune gave it a 4 out of 10, said boring and uninvolving sequel. Return of the Seven has a few good action scenes, and the score is rousing as ever. Nevertheless, it's a boring film because it simply fails to involve us emotionally. McQueen's absence makes a really bad impression, and the fact that his character here is played by a different, little-known actor is odd in a bad way. The characters are not developed, so we don't connect with them, and we hardly care if any of them die. The sequel is plausible, is passable, but poor imitation of the original.
True.
So this person gave a 7 out of 10. They are Scott LeBrun. I'd be damned. I doubt that very much. It's inevitable that any sequel to the classic The Magnificent Seven is going to represent a drop in quality. The script is definitely on the routine side, and its gallery of characters are mostly nondescript. There's still entertainment value in this assembling men for a mission theme, and some of the actors here get a chance to shine. Burt Kennedy's direction is certainly adequate, and the action scenes are well executed.
Okay.
So there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very fine reviews. I think very very plausible. And they're
Yeah, I mean, I get points from both of them, I suppose.
look, I don't think people are shitting upon it. And I
No.
don't think people are praising it either.
It's just so milquetoast.
No,
Like I mean, it didn't even. It lost.
You're giving Milk Toast a bad name by saying that.
It's just like it took like the good parts of that first one, like the thing that anything that it had that had the cult status to it.
Yeah.
It just stripped all that away and just left it with like a nothing kind of, I don't know. It's just so like a non-thing.
Let's get to our question.
All right.
We?
Okay, so what do you think was the best part of this movie?
Well, I enjoyed the music because we're 777. I think we're using about the same music, aren't we?
Yes.
And that's fine. I think Yul Brynner is fine in this movie. Yul Brynner is not my favorite actor in this movie. I'll tell you that much.
No.
There are some nice set pieces that I did enjoy in this movie,
Mm-hmm.
and that's probably my favorite part.
There's
some actually decent shots in this movie too.
Yeah.
I thought the cockfight scene was actually very well lit.
Yes.
And well shot.
Yes, it was. Yeah.
And I thought some action sequences were pretty well as well. Having said that, this movie is, like you said, not one to write home about.
Yeah. So at first I thought I was going to say Claude Akins. And I think he does fine with what he does,
fine.
but even that, it's not his best work.
No.
I'm kind of with you. Like, I think the scenery was good. Like you get like when we get into the scene with the village, like at the very beginning, nothing is really happening like that much action wise. But I found myself like very intrigued by what was going on in the action there.
I was more intrigued by that than when we were in our revenge kind of like saving Chico.
Yes.
Like I could give a crap about that.
Yeah.
I kind of liked the scenes of the like you said, the village.
Yes. And so like that's the kind of thing I think all throughout the movie the scenery was good and like the sets were great. But like what was happening in them wasn't always the best, but
no.
So yeah, I agree with you there. Reboot, continue, or cancel?
Well, they did reboot it. They rebooted it.
They've done both.
They've done
they continued it and they
continued and rebooted. And that's not why I would answer it this way, but I'm just not a fan of this.
Yeah.
I think it's been done.
Yeah.
Like you can watch A-Team, you can watch anything, you can watch Leverage.
Yeah.
You can watch any show where they bring a team together.
Yeah.
And get that aspect.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
So if you are going to reboot it, just reboot it. And
this is also
make it more modern.
The Magnificent Seven was a ripoff of the Seven Samurai.
Right.
Well, not a ripoff, but it was kind of a takeoff the Seven Samurai.
New, so there's no real reason why.
Yeah. Which in and of itself was a takeoff of the old Western stuff. Based off of this, I would have said cancel because I really don't think there's anything they can do that would salvage this, and I haven't seen.
I think they shouldn't have made 2 more movies.
No, I don't think so either. But that's why I'm like, man, I don't think they could pull this one out of the nosedive, and maybe they do. I've not seen the other 2 to judge, but like, I don't see how they really could. It probably is of the same quality.
Who knows?
I'm in now. That all being said, I'm very interested. Like we own Seven Samurai. And I'm actually very intrigued about seeing.
We don't own the Seven Samurai. We own 5 copies of it because every time we go to a store, you're like, wait a minute.
We have 1 copy of the Seven Samurai.
It was the
we own 7 copies of the Magnificent Seven.
That we do.
Because I'd go, do we have this? And I would buy it like it was
Bandito.
Catcher in the Rye.
Yeah.
And I'm intrigued to see the remake one. But yeah, I mean, like you have other things like
who's in the remake?
Chris Pratt is in it.
Chris Pratt and like Denzel Washington and
I think so.
Okay.
Oh,
Ethan Hawke.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm intrigued with
that.
In
that. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm intrigued about that. And there's other things that I think that have like you said, like very similar. Like you can see where it has elements of it. I guess I really don't need to see, like, sometimes I'm like, I'll make it as a TV series. I don't think we need that.
I don't need that.
I don't think we need that. Like, I think leave it as it is. Don't have a bunch of new sequels. Don't whatever. Just, it has a reboot. Let's end it there. Let's call it good. Do you think this one stands on its own?
No. If you don't know the first one, through that dialogue that he has.
Yeah.
No.
Well, okay, so at first I thought it did. Like, at first I was like, okay.
Even
because
that, no.
Because you have people coming up. You don't need to necessarily know the old team is dead. I mean, they mention it, but you don't really need to know until, like, it starts getting into where, what's his name is going off about his kids dying in the first battle.
Yeah, but that was, and it happened way too late in the movie for me to even fucking care about it.
It was about halfway through.
Yeah, that's.
Or no,
way
it was
too late
about
in the
it was
movie.
about a third of the way through.
No,
It was
late.
in the first 30 minutes, but even that 30 minutes felt like we were already an hour in.
It felt like an hour.
Yeah, it took forever.
This movie is an hour and 30 minutes, and it felt like 7 hours. One for each person on the team.
Yeah,
Giving
I don't
their
think
monologue to Yul Brynner.
I don't think it's like it stood on its own until about 30 minutes in when Lorca comes in and
Right.
kicks the legs out from under it.
No.
Yeah, no. Does it make you want to watch the first?
No.
Yeah, if I just came in and saw this movie, I would not be interested in the first one at all.
At all. I would have been like, that's going to be kind of terrible too.
Yeah. Or even the remake. If this was
Oh,
the
this
only
was the first
if this was the
introduction
first
of
thing I saw, I wouldn't watch anything that had to do with this.
I think this is a movie that, like, when people say they don't like Westerns, they're talking about this movie.
Yeah.
Or this type of movie.
Yeah, where it's just kind of your
Which
generic
is very
Western.
generic. Yeah.
Okay, describe your experience in 2 words.
Cash grab. I mean, it's a cash grab. I could call it a cockfight. Just because I like saying cockfight. But I don't know. Rewrites. Please rewrite, because they should have rewritten the plot.
Mm-hmm.
I think they should just touch the plot up. But I think maybe they ran with it and said, go with it. We need to make money off of it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's a bunch of words I could call it, but, you know, whatever. Go ahead. You?
The melodious set. It stinks.
Yeah, right?
It
just stinks.
like, yeah. It's just
wasn't-
like they took a movie that had these elements to it that made it stand out from others that were, you know, its other contemporaries. And then it was like, what if we took all that interesting shit out and just tried to, like, push this one through?
Can I say it this way? Like, I wasn't disappointed in this movie because this movie didn't give me a chance to be disappointed in it. Meaning, there was no build-up to it. So I couldn't be disappointed into it. It'd be different if, like, all of a sudden we build up and we're like, yes, this is perfect. And then 30 minutes in, we got the bad guy, and he says something really stupid and ridiculous, and I'm like, now I'm disappointed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Now
Yeah.
I'm let down.
Yeah.
It didn't even give me a chance to be let down.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I agree.
Like, there was no hype to it.
Yeah. We were just kind of meandering our
It
way
was
through.
just there.
Yep. I agree.
So
Alrighty.
I'd say pass on this.
Yeah, it's a rough one.
It's a rough one.
Which is really disappointing. I was really
If you
disappointed.
look, if you're a fan of Yul Brynner, which there, I guess, are, what do you call it if you're a fan of Yul Brynner?
Yule logs?
Yule logs. So if you're a Yule log,
if you get turned on by Yul Brenner, you'll get a
turned on,
Yule
you'll
log.
So that concludes our Westerns on that joke.
Yep.
So we'll do that.
Sorry, Bren heads.
Sorry, Brenheads or Yule logs. Jeremy, what do we got going on next for our next series for October?
For our next series, for October, we're going to have 3 movies. 3 Halloween movies.
3 Halloween movies. Well, 3 witch movies.
I was getting to that.
Yeah.
So last year we did werewolves. This year we're going to do witches.
Witches.
Yes. So we'll be having those come out here over the next few weeks. So be sure to tune in for those. They'll be frighteningly good. No, I'm sorry.
No.
The
Ghoul. Ghoul. I don't know.
check them out, boys and ghouls.
The puns that happen during the holidays really drive me
Yeah, I
nuts. You know, and it always starts with like
Yeah, they always drive me batty.
we have a place here in Omaha called Mangelson's,
Ghouls.
and they always are like, "We're Mangelsons," and it drives me nuts every time. I don't know why. It just does. Or when someone says, "We've got a sale," it's a spooktacular sale. I'm like, oh, right? Great. Thanks. Never
Halloween
heard that
spectacular. Yep.
before. Whatever. Anyway, where can people find us?
People can find us at the Deuce Podcast .podbean dot scream. No, I don't .com.
It's spectacular.
DeucePodcast.podbean.com. You can find us on
Everywhere you get your podcasts.
iTunes, Google
Podbean,
Play,
Google,
Stitcher.
wherever you get your iTunes or Podbeans or whatever.
Yes.
Go there.
Also on the No Phony Podcast Network webpage. So if you go to nophonynetwork.com, you can see us and many of our other teammates there. And then, of course, follow us on Twitter. So at the
How
Deuce
come you
Podcast.
never know
I
your-
know.
You never know your Twitter
At
handle.
the Deuce Podcast, because I never call my own phone number there.
You're
at the
it's a
Deuce
Twitter handle.
Podcast.
You
I know
don't
it is.
call your Twitter.
But it's the same principle. That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
At the Deuce Podcast. So definitely, tweet us there. Follow us. We will tweet things out about our episodes, and we will retweet some of our network mates. So definitely be on the lookout. Yeah. So we just look forward to you tuning in later.
All right. And remember, the sequel is king. And I, and I, and I, and I, and I.
The sequel
and I.
is Scream.